Hello everybody, hope you're doing fantastically well. Welcome back to the debrief. Welcome back to another Leeds United video. Yes, the big news has been announced today. Leeds United have completed the signing of Maximilian Wober from RB Salzburg for a fee of £10 million. Looks like a good piece of business for Leeds. The centre-back slash left-back is a hybrid, and we're going to see, in my opinion, him straight away, to be honest. We need this defensive structure bolstering, we need it improving, strengthening, and we'll see that hopefully with the Austrians' arrival imminent. I'm joined this evening by Gabe on the debrief. Unfortunately, Brownie can't make it tonight. Life does get in the way. All of you who haven't already, make sure you subscribed, make sure you're liking the content, and of course, give us your opinions in the comments section below. Without any further ado, I'll introduce my co-host for this evening. Gabe, how you doing, mate? All right?
Doing great, Connor. How we doing?
Yeah, good. It feels all right, doesn't it? When 3rd of January's come, you know, we get back to that lovely date of Jermaine Beckford scoring against Manchester United at Old Trafford in 2010. But then also you get a signing through the door. Me and you have had a bit of chat off air, and I think we've both come to the common understanding, Gabe, that it's an improvement. And even if we don't agree entirely on the positioning of this new signing and where he's going to play and maybe who's going to drop out, it's an improvement, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how much we can expect for 10 million. If that's the kind of money we're going to spend, this is the kind of player we're going to get. And I do think that he constitutes an upgrade on current defensive options, with the exception of Pascal Struck. So I'll take it.
Yeah, 100%. Benji's in the building, says, evening Connor, evening everyone, says Ian Blackwood. Just a quick shout out as well before we start the video to Ben Sutton. Yeah, I needed to do that one. So Luke's in the building, says, unless we spend 60 million this window, going to be a lack of quality all season. Think manager's done brilliantly with a net spend of nothing. I think you're kind of in that camp as well, aren't you, Gabe? Thought Jesse looked
brilliant, but yeah.
yeah. I think Jesse looked knackered and stressed in the press conferences, Mr. Yorkshire Monkey. Paul says, Nicholas, one signing in the bag. Let's fill up the bag with a few more. I think that's a perfect sort of segue, really, Gabe, isn't it, onto the main, conclusive point, really, that Leeds United just simply can't be done right now, can we? This has got to be the momentum builder. This has got to be the fire starter for Leeds United to be actually to go out there and bring in a striker. It's been very muted there, but it just has to be something that's got to be number one on the priority list, Gabe.
Yeah, hearing the rumors about Shea Adams has given me a small glimmer of hope. Of course, it's the hope that kills you with Leeds United. He would be such an upgrade, though, on what we've got, wouldn't he? I mean, I think he would allow certain players to get on the pitch together. I think he would bring... I know Rodrigo's done really well, but I think he'd bring the best out of Rodrigo, allowing him to make runs and not have to try to hold up the ball, which he doesn't do particularly well. I think the link-up play would improve, especially if you're trying for quick transitions, which is what Leeds United is all about. So, I think if we can bring in Shea Adams and then maybe another reinforcement in the defense, I think it'd be a good transfer window.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, hold on a minute. I think that should solve a little bit of the echo you guys have been discussing. Yeah. That's on my end, not on Gabe's. Don't worry. I think it's something that we need to consider, obviously, a striker. And you just mentioned it there as well, Gabe, the Shea Adams thing. I mean, you listen, and everybody in the comment section below, let me know what you think. People have done on the live streams as well previously. But when we talk about Shea Adams, you talk about a player who, for me, I watch consistently, when he's come up against Leeds, and he's been a real handful. I think the Southampton fans really like him. But I was almost saying it the other day, wouldn't it be a fantastic asset stripper to go to Southampton, a relegation rival, and not only take a player that's going to improve the Leeds United system and actually give us a number 9, a traditional number 9, but you're actually taking away a relegation rival's one of their better assets going forward. I think that's something, obviously, that Newcastle did. They weren't fighting relegation towards the back end of the season, but it was almost a tactical ploy when they took away Chris Wood from Burnley. And I think it would be it would almost be a fantastic acquisition, not just on the playing front, but as well off the field.
I would love for us to go 1 week without talking about Chris Wood. He's just we're going to be talking about it forever. No, you're 100% correct. And I think that we have to be pragmatic in a number of ways at Leeds United, but I think one of the ways is we have to look at the opportunities we're going to have for a bit of business. Obviously, we're not going to be able to take players from top clubs, even the ones that aren't, and I mean top of the table. I don't mean that Leeds isn't a great club. I got blasted for that one week.
Careful, very careful.
Even the players who aren't getting game time, I know that because of the American link, people have talked about Christian Pulisic. I mean, look, Pulisic is going to command a fee of 35 to 40 million at minimum. Leeds United can't spend that kind of money. So when you're looking at good quality Premiership players, even on poor teams, we're going to be able to we should be able to do some business there. So I think Shea Adams in that regard. I mean, I don't know how many people have watched him play. I have seen quite a bit of him, and I gotta say, even when he's not scoring, he plays really well, and he does reasonably well with the chances he's been given. So I think that, you know, when you look at that Southampton team top to bottom, I would say that they're a worse team than we are. So the fact that he's, I think, done as well as he has speaks a lot to his work rate, his positional sense, and his ability to snap up on chances when he gets them. And I think that's something that, I mean, we sorely lack in our front line, right? So I think it's a player that can work as that focal point and bring in the players around him, because we have plenty of quickness, plenty of guile in those positions. And I think that having somebody who can control the pace of the play and really be able to hold the ball and bring somebody in and give that final pass, or be on the final pass, a little bit of quality, I think Shea Adams could absolutely do it. So I don't know why we wouldn't go in for him, but who knows?
Yeah, 100%. Benji with the nice donation here. Hope everyone's good. What a nice message. There you go. I appreciate that one, mate. Michael Key says, lots of talk about, mate, I really struggle with this pronunciation, but he's a Coventry striker. Normally, I'm really good with pronunciation. So if someone wants to break it down in the comments section, Gyökeres. Yeah. Is that it? Right. Okay. There you go. Yeah. Apparently Phil Hay has mentioned that we are looking at him. Now that would be an extremely exciting signing. The pronunciation might be bad, but this guy is absolutely lighting up the Championship at the minute. Yeah. I mean, that would be a little bit of a statement. And what are your thoughts as well, Gabe, and everyone in the comment section about Championship players? Because there is a stigma, isn't there? This, I mean, we had it with Ben Brereton Diaz last season at around about January. I think he scored about 20 goals. He was on fire. And there was a little bit of interest supposedly from Leeds, but I think Blackburn at that point wanted 30 million. This guy, I think he's going to cost a little bit less according to multiple sources, but I think there are a few clubs looking at him, but he looks like the full package. I don't know if you've seen anything of him, Gabe, but Championship talent, there is a lot there, isn't there, that would help Leeds in this current predicament.
Listen, I'm going to sort of contradict myself. I'm constantly pushing us to get into the data and look at the analytics and the metrics. But I think that with the Championship, you have to watch film, and you have to watch a lot of matches. I guess it's not film anymore. No one's popping a VHS in, are they?
Film.
But I think you have to watch these matches in their entirety. Case in point, if you look at the statistics in terms of scoring the championship this year, Josh Sargent's right up there. Does anybody in Leeds want Josh Sargent? Some of the Americans might. I do not.
No.
I think he scored 9 or 10 goals this season for Norwich. He's towards the top. So I think that it's easy to look at statistics and say that somebody's ripping up the Championship. We know that it's a fast league, it's a physical league, but it's not a particularly technical league. At least not this season. I think it goes up and down.
It's a really bad, from what I've been told as well, this season's
it's a bad Championship.
Bog standard in the Championship. I think there's about 2 points separating from 24th to 1st.
Right. So I think that, you know, I don't think anybody should be discounted just solely on the basis of exactly what league they're playing. I think we've seen good talent come out of the Eredivisie, the MLS. We've seen good players come out of Bundesliga too. I mean, it happens. But what I would say is that that's a good point there by Boy and the Bandana. What I would say is,
I think it's a brilliant.
But
point.
Salzburg plays Champions League, so we get to see.
That's the caveat, isn't it?
We get to see them against top teams. So I think we have to look at the entirety of a player's form. And I mean, if someone's scoring tap-ins, which is what Sargent is doing, and I'm not trying to slag off Josh Sargent, but is he going to get that level of opportunity in the Premiership? Probably not. All right, Dave. Settle your wife down, Dave. But I think you know what I'm saying, right? I mean, if we're looking at a highlight reel of a player or a film of a player who is constantly being hounded on the ball and is great in tight spaces, that translates to any league. A player who's given acres of open space and then can swinging a good cross, fantastic. I'm not sure that does much for Leeds United. So all this to say, I haven't seen much of that particular player, but I'd be really interested to hear from people who have watched him week in and week out, if they've done it, of what they actually think of his performances. Because I think that just statistics alone in the Champions League, I keep saying Champions League, in the Championship are not enough.
Yeah, I can completely understand that. I think everyone is level-headed enough to probably understand that as well. I think it's, systems, isn't it? You just mentioned a specific one there. Josh Sargent is clearly profiting. I mean, Norwich aren't doing that well, to be fair, but he's clearly profited from that system. I've
just baited Daniel and Tiffany Stevens who've come. Look, I like Josh Sargent. I just don't think that he's Premiership ready yet. Yeah. I just not yet.
I presume I presume that's an American link there. Presumably, it could
probably, but who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? But yeah, Ryan Dudley says we're not the sort of club to go to Southampton and be bullish enough to take Che Adams. I think I mentioned that on a video. I think Ryan's bang on there. Well, obviously, I've said something similar. You just can't ever see Leeds doing that sort of thing. Newcastle, it was a very big power play, and I feel it was almost a bit of we've got money now and we're going to come in and it doesn't matter where we are in the division. I think they have 12 points at that stage, and we're going to come in with the big boys now and we're going to take your player and you're going to do nothing about it. We're going to pay him a lot more money, and that's that. And yeah, I think it'd just be nice to see Leeds do something similar, but are the finances set up for Leeds to do that? I doubt.
But why can't, like, he's not going to go for north of 15-20 million, Che Adams?
No, I mean, would he be enticed by Leeds is probably the next question. Why would he? I guess why would he leave Southampton?
Because he's going down with Southampton for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think I mentioned it the other day as well. I'm not sure if he was born in the north, but he did grow up in the. Well, he did play for Sheffield United when he was a younger lad, so I've no idea if that enticed him back up north. But who knows? I mean, Dow's got it bang on here. Southampton won't sell Adams for less than 30 million. I can't imagine. Really? I mean,
okay.
I'd probably say that. I don't know if it'd be 30 million, but you feel like they'd add a little bit of rivalry tax on there in terms of positionally. So
I just think we need to look at players who can score goals in the Premiership. There are always going to be players that look really good.
Gabe, there's an argument that he doesn't score enough in the Premier League.
Well, Southampton doesn't play well enough to give him enough chances to score in the Premier League. When I look at the stat line, he's not had a bad season. Like the numbers are respectable. I know that he doesn't. Wow, like it doesn't pop off the page, but the reality is we're not going to be able to get a 15-plus goal Premiership League. Like, we're not going to get it.
Nope, you bang on. Justin O'Neill, glad to catch you live. Starting off the year right, cheers from Kentucky. Shout out to you. But yeah, I agree, Gabe. I think it's very much, and I've said this on a few videos as well, the expectations need to be really quelled on what we can get. I mean, there's everyone's saying we need an out number 9, correct, but what comes with that? You've almost got to take out the goals and the assists, because if you get goals and assists and you want someone who's scored, getting bloody 10 assists a season and 20 goals, there's going to be a higher premium. Yep. So you need to reduce the expectations a little bit, because Leeds are just not shopping in that market, unfortunately. Yep. And if there was a player like that, there are going to be 5 or 6 clubs in for him as well, probably a couple of top clubs as well. So
with the top clubs, it's not just the level of play. It's I think that what sometimes gets missed is the wages that they can offer the player. And that's what's going to, a lot of times, what separates. I mean, at the end of the day, players have a pretty short shelf life, and you want to earn as much money as you can. So even if the transfer fees are somewhat similar, Leeds United don't have it in the locker to be able to pay some of the wages for some of the players that, want to cash in. So.
Yeah, Marcus Thuram says Clay Force, he is available. I saw that today, around about 12 million apparently. They're willing to let him go for, but yeah, once again, is that the sort of player that Leeds would go in for and once again be bullish? I just can't. I think there's going to be a lot of players after a lot of clubs, I should say, after his signature. I just don't know if Leeds are going to be in the market. A Brentford fan in the building, as a Bees fan and our good form, it wouldn't surprise me if you guys hammered us on the 22nd of Jan. Nothing surprised me with you guys. Top channel. Thank you, mate. Really appreciate that. Didn't know we had any Brentford fans in the chat. I'll tell you what, Gabe, they're absolutely flying, aren't they, Brentford? Absolutely flying.
Yeah.
Really seems to have. I don't even think they played Ivan Toney yesterday, did they? Visser up front, and that sort of quality when you can have another number 9 coming in, and every time he comes on, Visser,
is Ivan Toney done for the year?
I'm not sure. He's going to be done. He's going to be done. He's going to be done for a few years, isn't he?
For some other things, but yeah, I thought I saw that he went down with a hard injury. Maybe I was
was going to go down with something else. So yeah, they're going to have to rely on Visser, I think. But yeah, they've got a couple of other talents as well. But yeah, they've seemed to. I mean, it's a great model, isn't it, Gabe? I mean, Brighton, Brentford. You know, I was mentioning on Twitter the other day that imagine the amount of talent that Brighton and Brentford would have got with the 30 million that we spent on Rodrigo, and maybe the 25 million that we spent on Dan James. I know people.
I'm so sorry. Do you not think that Rodrigo's starting to earn some of that money back?
No,
come on, Connor. You got
30 million. 30 million. 30 million.
You scored 9 Premier League goals this season.
30 million. You were going on about Declan Rice being 100 million. Like, come on.
But you know, strikers cost more money.
They do, mate. But 30 million at 29 years of age. I'm not convinced yet. And I don't watch him and think he gives us enough. As I said it on the channel the other day.
Oh boy.
It's more on the eye test for me as well. It's not just on stats, as you've said. I don't think it's just on stats. It's on the general link-up play and the build-up play that I don't think Rodrigo gives us. I don't think he's efficient. But listen, football's about opinions, isn't it? Maybe loads of people think he's bringing that back. Who knows? And I could be wrong, of course. Right, we've not really touched on the Newcastle game, mate. Live anyway. So obviously we're going to get onto the West Ham United game. I want to get your thoughts. I want to get everyone in the comment section below's thoughts. But Newcastle, a real war of attrition, wasn't it? We saw a little bit of SHIT housery from Leeds United, which was good to see. I don't think we've seen enough of that. What were your overall thoughts, Gabe? And everyone.
Sorry, I'm an American. I don't understand the language that way. You'll have to spell out exactly what you meant. No, listen, I thought the first half was all right. It was very even. Possession was 51-49. That was Newcastle and Leeds at 49. I think pass accuracy was the same. Number of passes was pretty similar. I think shots were close, but Newcastle had some on target and we didn't. That was concerning. I think others will interpret this differently, but for me, it seemed like Marsh was playing for a draw. And it seemed like bringing Forshaw out for 45 hard minutes and then to bring on Raka for another 45. Maybe it wasn't exactly 45, but did Raka come on at halftime? Or just after half? I think he did. It was pretty close.
No, I think he came on at halftime. Didn't I? Just remember him doing his laces up on the half
Yeah.
time.
So I think that Marsh's tactical plan. Now we can talk about the missed chances from Newcastle, and we will. But I think that the tactical plan was relatively smart. Turn a wet, messy match at Newcastle into this kind of, as you mentioned, war of attrition. Keep fresh legs on, and just try to I think the idea was to catch them on a counter if we could. We didn't really do so effectively. We had a couple of half chances that were snuffed out that I thought we should have done better on. But first half I was happy. Second half, sort of a small miracle that we didn't concede a number of goals. Now this does happen. I think the point I'd make is that we gotten a lot of bad luck in some of the matches that we hit. So it's about time we get some good luck. And I think some of the good luck was just the missed chances from Newcastle. It just didn't feel like their day. And fair play to Leeds. I mean, we did well to hang on. It could have gone another way, but I think that, based on what you and I both said, what Brownie said going into the match, we didn't predict a great result. So to get a 0-0 draw away against the team with the best form in the Premiership right now has to be seen as a positive thing, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I think Paul's made this comment on the back of the Rodrigo chat. Paul says Brentford paid 5 million for Tony. Yeah,
I almost spat out my water for that.
This is the recruitment, isn't it, that we're talking about at Brentford? It's pretty sensational. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, with Newcastle, I feel like we look back on it, and it's funny because my dad sent me a message. He was overjoyed, and I didn't expect that. I think me and you had a chat as well, and you were saying, really, not happy, but you were almost sort of like looking at exactly what we spoke on, which was Leeds losing the game, and we've come out with a point. I think I just got to a point where I was just so frustrated at seeing us lose the ball, and I think that's the point I'm at the minute. It's just the fact that when I'm watching Leeds, I'm not really enjoying the style of play. I'm not really enjoying, I don't really know how to describe it, to be honest. The ball retention, the amount of possession we have during matches, and it almost just feels like we're fending off at the minute, and it's very, very luck heavy, especially in the Newcastle game. However, contrary to that, I understand that we've gone there and we've got a point, so that's a massive positive. Of course, it is. I think we've just got to be very, very thankful that 2 of their best chances fell to Matty Longstaff, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. In this is an interesting one. I've heard a few people say this, Gabe, and as I keep saying, everyone in the comment section below, let me know what you think. But we need an attacking midfield to challenge Aronson because he hasn't been performing. This is backed up by being our 8th best player on season's average ratings. It's an interesting one with Brendan, isn't it, Gabe? Because I do feel at the minute that he's I don't know if he's been hampered by the system, but I feel like it was a little bit similar in the other system as well, the 4-2-3-1. Obviously, we've moved to a bit of a 4-3-3 now, and it's only been very recent, of course, but he does feel like he's getting swallowed up a little bit in games, maybe holding on to the ball too long. Seems to be on the floor a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know what it is at the minute. I mean, me and my dad were talking, and we're massive fans of Aronson, but it just feels like his ball efficiency maybe isn't what it was at the start of the season. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have to agree with the comment. I think that he'd do well to be pushed. I think that a couple things come to mind. In the first half of the season, I think he was in the top 10 of the Premiership of chances created.
It's very good.
Those chances, of course, weren't being cashed in, and you can only do so much. I think that Aronson, he's a frustrating player because you look at how hard he works, and he does so much for the team in the press and in the build-up. But there are those moments he does hang on to the ball a little bit long, and I think he gets fouled a lot. He gets fouled a lot, but I think that, and this tends to happen in the Premier League, it's not just Aronson. Players who are a little bit more slight tend to be punished by the officials for not being stronger. So yeah, it'll be a foul, the legs will be clipped, but it's almost like the referee's thinking, well, you should be strong enough to stay on your feet. So I'm not going to call it. I've seen that a number of times. Aronson needs to get stronger. So we're not going to change the officiating in the Premier League. I think that right now it takes a while to adapt to the Premier League. And Aronson's not an old player. He's a relatively young player. So I think that he can do better and he should do better. I don't necessarily think that him starting every match for Leeds United has done him favors, maybe. I think that maybe he should be rotated. But I don't think he should be dropped altogether.
Similar to the US setup.
Yeah, I mean, well, don't get me started about Berhalter and the
let's not go down that route.
Yeah, no. I'll hijack the whole thing.
But it's the fact that obviously he's not starting week in, week out, is he? He's rested.
Right. And I think that I think that Marsh likes the player in terms of what he brings to the system. So I actually think that Brendan's great in this system. I think that he just needs to be a little bit more decisive in possession and move the ball a bit quicker. And I would say maybe absorb more contact before he goes down.
Well, I think sometimes he's looking for it. I actually think at the start of the season where he was really good in transition, when it was those chaotic moments where he'd really thrive, I think now he's struggling in those moments. Yeah. I think he's almost receiving the ball, taking 2 or 3 touches, and it feels at the minute, and this might be a bit harsh, but it's either one of two things with Brendan. He's either giving the ball away sloppily, or he's going down and looking for a foul. And I think the problem with that in the Premier League is if that continues to happen and you're not successful, obviously when you go down, I'm not saying he's diving, but if you're going down all the time and that's not becoming successful, like Jesse's card was marked when he was, gobbing off to the latter part of last season, your card will get marked. And I think officials are going to start, it's not going to be a thing that's going to improve for Brendan. So it's almost like you kind of just need to stay on your feet and go with the punches. And I'm not saying that's fair, because I think if he was a top 4 player, he'd be getting a lot more decisions, but it is what it is. Yeah,
no, I agree. I think that one of the things that comes with experience, especially in the Premier League, is it sounds stupid, but like learning how to sell contact in the right way. Jack Grealish is great at this.
He's very good.
Jack barely gets touched, and sometimes he doesn't get touched, and he knows how to sell a foul to get the whistle every single time.
Do you think Aronson needs to use his hair a little bit more?
Yeah, I think that he's missing a sort of David Beckham-esque quality that Jack Grealish has.
Well, with Grealish, it's a real swing of the hair, isn't it? And Aronson just kind of slumps down, doesn't he? So maybe needs to
stand him. I can't stand him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Rajales Gary says disagrees. It seems to work for Grealish, but I guess that's the top four bias there, Gary. And I think Gabe is absolutely bang on the money when it's selling a foul. And unfortunately, it's what do you classify it as? Do you classify it as gamesmanship or cheating? It's probably in between in nowadays in modern football, because everybody does it. However, it's it's not something we like to see, but there is a certain way of buying a foul, and Grealish is, in my opinion, from the players that I've seen do it, probably the best in Europe at actually selling a foul. He's incredible at doing so, because, as Gabe quite rightly says, he barely gets touched. So maybe that's something that we need to implement.
I think Neymar's probably a bit better. But what I would say is that the refereeing in the Premiership is horribly inconsistent. Yeah. I've seen things get called as penalties that happen 10 minutes later, and they're not even fouls. So yeah. I think that Aronson needs to do a better job of understanding the kind of match that he's in, the kind of league that he's in. And if you're going to absorb contact, absorb a lot of it. And if you're going to go down hard and fast, yeah. And I don't think he does it. I think that a lot of times he tries to be persistent and stay on his, anyway, we don't want to keep going on and on about this, but yeah, he needs to do better. And I agree with the comment. I think that seeing him drop for a match or two, or to come off the bench, or just being rotated, not necessarily dropped, I think it would be good for him.
It's that depth, though, isn't it, Gabe? What do you bring on? But Stu Nick has said, Nonso brilliant at buying fouls. I think there's a real conversation at the minute about, where this guy ranks in terms of the best players at Leeds United. And I'm being deadly serious there. I know he's a new boy. I know he's only young, but his decision-making, his quality on the ball, his, how good he is through the transitions as well, which is able to get up the field, leads up the field a lot quicker, how strong he is. He seems to have a real bite about him as well, which we saw with Kieran Trippier. And I feel like he's got a lot of end product. I think, I think Sinisterra is probably the best technical player at the club. But when you're looking at Willy Gnonto at the minute, and we've got a good sample size now, I tell you what, Gabe, I was seriously impressed with this guy.
Yeah. And I think when you look at what Somerville's done this season, and when Sinisterra comes out, I think that's the attacking trident in a way. So if some of the comments are saying, well, who do you drop? Who do you bring on? If you drop Aronson, I think that, there's enough flexibility in terms of those players where they can play. I mean, they're not all Jack Harrison that have to play exact position and exact way to be effective in a match. I think the one thing I saw in the comments, somebody said that Aronson not playing a lot for the USA in the World Cup says something. Yeah, it says that they have Christian Pulisic, who's better. I mean, that's so I think sometimes we tend to, and I want to be careful about Gnonto. I mean, young kid has done really well.
Yep.
Has played in less than 10 matches for Leeds. So I think that, we've seen players before in the Premier League come on and do really well, and then they get found out. Now, I'm not saying there's anything to be found out. I think he's a quality player, but I think it's important for us to not have too high of expectations of an 18-year-old, because think about that. He's 18 years old.
But Gabe, if he's one of the better players at the club, you just call it as it is. I mean, maybe that's a lack of quality that we have technically, but I think Gnonto, from what we're seeing at the minute, I don't see him any better. And I know Somerville's numbers are better, but I have been way more impressed with Gnonto. I think he's technically very, very good.
I think his form is fantastic right now, and I think if he is what he looks like he is, he'll be fantastic for this club, and it'll be very difficult to keep him in the future. That being said, just players at this age, I'm a little bit hesitant to hand them a crown and a scepter is all.
Yeah, I think we're always going to be sort of hampered by the Jack Clark effect, which Josh is bang on the money with, where we all thought he was going to be the best player in the world. and then, yeah, I mean, Jack Clark, his first sort of that half of the season was absolutely insane. He was frighteningly good. And then obviously that thing happened at Middlesbrough, which I don't think any of us know what actually happened. But okay, so West Ham United, Gabe. Tomorrow's game, is it a must-win for you?
No, it's not a must-win. Like if you're asking me to say, are Leeds going down if we don't beat West Ham? I think that the answer has to be no. That said, if we want to have a positive trajectory and really feel like we've turned a corner, we've all said this was the toughest run of fixtures that Leeds would have. It was Liverpool going into the Bournemouth match we all thought we should win, but then Man City and then Newcastle. I mean, that's a horrible challenge of matches. And so if Marsh can come away and this squad can come away with 4 points out of 3, I'm sorry, 4 points out of 9 available and against those teams, I think we should feel good. We're not going to like what we see on the pitch. I think that this is something we have to sort of accept. Doesn't mean we have to stop talking about it, but I think we have to sort of accept in our mind that we're not going to play like a top 10 team. That means we're going to have matches where we look really good, and then we're going to have matches where we look terrible. Because if players were able to be consistent week in, week out, they wouldn't be playing for a squad that is threatened with relegation. This is just every team in the Premier League experiences this, right? It's the teams that get settled after 4 or 5 years of stability and are in the top 10 regularly. Then they're able to attract players that have been plying their trade at top level.
Yeah.
That said, I think the talent is there. And I think that this West Ham United team is at a point where we should be able to beat them. And I think that if we can't win this kind of game, it says horrible things for us going forward. Because if we can't do this, like, we may get lucky at the end of the season, but that's what it would be. It would be luck, because we know it's not going to be based on our own consistency. We have to get gettable points. And all 3 points are there for us against West Ham. This team is floundering. Moyes looks like he's on the way out. Declan Rice has not played well this season. It's some of the big names. Antonio hasn't played particularly well this season. I mean, they're still good players, but I mean, I think if we don't snap up this opportunity now, we're probably not going to. All right, Joe.
Shout out to Joe in the comments. Big up C-Man, and I'm just going to put G-Man on there. G-Man sounds better than C-Man, doesn't it? But yeah. Looking at the games coming up, JC says we still need points, so we still need to win tomorrow. Yeah, Jay's bang on the money normally. We need to be very disciplined tomorrow in and around our area. West Ham are very good. I think we will get a result from this one, but I am maybe a little bit more tentative than you are, and a lot of people are. I think West Ham will still pose Leeds a hell of a lot of problems. I still think we're conceding a lot of chances.
Too many.
I mean, the Newcastle game was a complete outlier. We are conceding a lot of goals. However, on the flip side, that could be a momentum builder, and I hope it is. I really hope it is. You know, the start of maybe a few clean sheets. It just felt a bit lucky, gave to me the Newcastle game that we didn't concede. So coming up,
I agree, very lucky. But how many matches, Connor, have we had where we were incredibly unlucky to concede on individual player error or something? You know, like I felt like we can't be relying on luck, but when we finally get it, I'm going to take it. You know.
Yeah, no, you're right. Of course, we need to have, you know, we've not had a lot of luck this season, but obviously, yeah, there's obviously a counter argument that maybe we've had a little bit of luck when it comes to the other way, and Elan Melee keeping us in games, but that's a conversation for another time. It depends how much the West Ham players want Moyes to keep his job. They could down tools or they could fight, and that is true in football. That does happen. Speaking to a footballer or two and hearing a few footballer stories, that is a thing which is, I think it's horrendous, you know, but it is a thing. You can forgive inconsistency, says Clive T. It's a lack of care that's the problem. Everything is done in hope. Deep. Michael Pollard says, Connor, this narrow attritional style is what's causing or contributing to all our injuries. Do you agree? Gabe, I'll put that one to you, actually. I'm going to have a little bit of a think about that one. I'm not 100% sure.
If we're talking about Patrick Bamford, no, I don't agree. I think you can't help that someone's made of glass. I also think that Brendan Aaronson's played every single Premier League match this season. So I think that, you know, it's hard to say that it's the style of play that's leading to the injuries. I do think, though, whenever you play a high intensity style, this happened under Bielsa, it happens under Marsh, like muscle injuries are going to be higher, right? It's going to happen. And this is a difficult league. Every side has injury problems. If we go on streams of other channels, I think we'll find the same thing. The difference is depth, and the difference is purse strings, right? So I think it's a hard league. You play a lot of matches, and there are no easy ones. So I wouldn't necessarily put it on the system.
I think that's exactly how I'd put it as well. Excuse me. There's no easy game. And until you're here in the Premier League, like obviously we have been now for 2 or 3 years, I used to think, you know, in every league there are the easy games. And in the Championship, you did have easy games, even though it was a ridiculously tough league and horrendous to get out of. But there were easy games, in my opinion. The Premier League is just relentless. I feel every team has match winners. And you know, it's just such a difficult league to pick up wins. That's why they're so valuable. Hence why the Spurs game, when you're winning 3 times and you lose the game, it was painful. But listen, we need to start building on that. Markhead says, how's there going to be 580 people watching this?
Criminals.
That's guys, that's a fifth. Gabe, we got that right? Fifth? Maths man? More than a fifth? Less than a fifth?
Approximately a fifth.
Approximately, okay. Guys, make sure you just hit a like on the video. It's free. It is free of charge. It just makes sure it makes, you know, YouTube's algorithm, basically. It means that it can be seen by more people, more of your family, more of your friends who are Leeds fans as well. So that'd be great. At the game tomorrow, says Joe Moyes. Oh God, that second name. For tomorrow, really. At the game tomorrow, Connor, will I see you there, pal? Like the Wober signing, just hope it's not at Strauch's expense. You will not see me there tomorrow, mate, unfortunately. Gabe, you going to be there tomorrow?
No, I won't be there tomorrow. I will be there. I will be at the West Ham match.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
So that'll be good. Can we just talk really quick about you and I spoke about this off air? Surely not for Wober coming in for Strauch. Surely not. But like, if that does happen, if we see him come into the left back spot and Pascal gets dropped, I will come on this channel. Everybody could quote me today. I will come on this channel and say march out because he doesn't know what he's doing. I'll do it. I will do it. If Strauch drops down into Cooper's spot and Cooper gets on the bench, then fine. But if Pascal Strauch comes out of that defense, being the only bright spot, oh God, I will be march out. I will eat all the words I've said. I will stop defending him, and it'll never happen again. Do you think there's any likelihood that happens? Look with your face, and you sort of do.
Do I think that? I don't think he can. I don't think he can be that stupid. No, he can't be that stupid. The guy went to where did he go? Did he go Harvard? You know, he's got a real education. He's an intelligent man. He cannot. He cannot look. I don't understand what advantage there is in Liam Cooper being ahead of Pascal Strauch. Can you give me one? What attribute? What are we talking leadership here? That's that. I mean, okay, you can have that over Pascal Strauch, but then you can just give the leadership, you know, the leadership armband, the captain armband to Tyler Adams, who does it for the States. Fine, no problem with that. And I wonder if Tyler Adams had then, you know, his performances would elevate. There is no reasoning or understanding why Pascal Strauch gets dropped from this side. He's arguably been the best performer this season, and that would really knock me off because it's not based on a meritocracy then. I don't know what it's based on. Is it based on favourites? I have no idea because, you know, he talks about Liam Cooper a lot. I'm really hoping that's not the case, Gabe.
It's inconceivable to me.
Yeah.
What I would say is this. So I hate to constantly bring in the U.S. into this, but like I will say this one quick thing. One of the issues that U.S. men's national team fans have with the manager is he'll drop superior players in favor of the system. And all of us have been asking, well, what has your system ever done? He's not won any trophies. He's not done anything, right? So I could say, you know, if it was a manager like Pep Guardiola who's won everything in the game and says, you know, my system works, then fine. Jesse Marsh's system. Opinions are varied, but nobody thinks that it's proven anything at any level in terms of winning trophies outside of Salzburg. So like, I can't imagine he would do it. I'm going to go ahead and say that we're sort of, I brought it up, but we're sort of talking about what seems to be an edge case. And yet the fact that we're not 100% convinced that there's no possible way this happens is a little bit concerning. But I think we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But if he does drop Pascal Strauch, I'll come on this channel and I'll say he doesn't know what he's doing.
But then there's people in the comments like Rossett said here, replacing Cooper is a massive mistake. Cooper captain, so hardly dropped. There's a couple of other in it. Super duper Liam Cooper. I think Damar's been a little bit, I don't know if he's just been a bit sarcastic there. He's probably not, but you know, who knows? And then obviously there's a few on the Pascal side, but you do wonder if maybe Jesse sees it like that as well. You know, Cooper's leadership values, whatever they are, on the pitch, and you know how he's in the dressing room. I the thing is, Gabe, he's had a good. I'll say this: he had a good game against Newcastle. He did, but this is what Cooper does. He'll put in one good performance out of 3, in my opinion. One really, you know, well, not really, but a good performance out of 3. There'll be a couple of clangers in the others, but that one performance that, you know, sees him through a lot more. And obviously, he's the captain. I can't see him being dropped on the back of that Newcastle performance. If he has a good performance against West Ham, then what do you do? What do you do? Maybe just keep Wober on the bench for a little bit and help him acclimatise.
I mean, probably. Yeah, I think that's probably what happens.
That's what I think will happen. There's a lot of people talking about a back three. I don't think so.
I would love to see a back three with 2 wing backs. I would love that.
Well, yeah, because that, 5 at the back, as Sam Jerome said then, when you can't defend, putting another body back there is an advantage. Of course it is. So, yeah, I would like to see that as well, mate, 100%. But I don't know. But, yeah, he's not the Cooper. There's absolutely, for me, overall, there's too many mistakes in his game. And yeah, I mean, I want to see a Tyler Adams captain at some point.
Surely they can't hang on to all these players either.
I've been saying that for 2 years, mate. So,
but at some point, like if you sign people in, you have to send people out, right? And I think, for me, like I remember when Llorente was the only left-sided center half we had available and healthy, and then when Cooper came in, he wasn't brought right back into the team. I mean, he had to sort of earn his place back. So I do think that, regardless of what Jesse says in the press, this is why I don't watch the press conferences. I mean, we're going to get a sort of Mickey Mouse version of things, but what happens behind the scenes, I'm sure he has real plans for certain players. That being said, I mean, if we see Pascal Struck out of the team and Liam Cooper retains a place, I'll start wearing Marsh out shirts here on the
can't happen. I don't believe it can't happen. It can't happen. Wober said in an interview about earning his place in the team, so I reckon he'll start on the bench. I think that's the more likely scenario. Gabe, right, we've been going on for around about an hour, believe it or not. Brownie, I've just asked him what his score prediction is for tomorrow's game. Everybody get it in the comment section below. I had a video out earlier as well if you guys want to check that out. Make sure there's nearly 600 of you in the building. Make sure we get a hell of a lot of likes as well. It's free and it takes a second. What do you reckon his score prediction is?
I think I went with 3-2. Last broadcast, I'm going to stick with it. 3-2 with Leeds over West Ham United.
Unio 3-2. Actually, we've not even spoken about the last prediction. I think Brownie got it right, didn't he? Because he did. You get a point if you get a draw. I don't think he said 0-0. I think he said 1-1. So I think he's got that spot on, which is annoying because he seems to get it right. Me and Brownie disagree with everything. I always think I'm right, and then he backs it up with a correct score prediction. So it happens all the time. So Brownie's put 1-1. We're going to draw ourselves to safety. so yeah, 1-1.
Would you be happy with a draw against West Ham right now?
Oh. No, but yes.
Okay, but let me reframe.
Yeah, rephrase.
Asking you if you'll be happy is a silly question. Will you accept? Will you feel a little bit better about the trajectory of the season if we draw West Ham? I shouldn't use words like I don't know myself again.
I don't know because I'm almost going into that not even contemplating Leeds losing the game, and the bare minimum is a draw, which maybe I need to adapt my expectations and maybe have to come to the realization that a draw would be a good result and it wouldn't be the minimum expectation. Maybe that's been arrogant. I just look at it, Gabe, and I'm like, what home games are we looking at that we are supposed to win? What games are we supposed to win? Because that's what I don't understand. Wolves have come to Ellen Road. Wolves. Fulham have come to Ellen Road, giving us a hiding. Bournemouth were very unlucky in that first half. We came back, we won the game, of course, but it was there for Bournemouth to win in that first half by 4 or 5. And I just think a nice, convincing win would be ideal. But I don't know, mate. I'm actually going to go with. I'm going to agree with Brownie. I'm going to go with a 1-1. I think. I
would rather see a squeak out a win.
But what about you? What would you be? I think you mentioned it really. So you'd be happy with the draw then?
No, I wouldn't be happy with it. I think that you can't lose this match.
No, you can't. You can't lose.
You can't lose it because, and again, it doesn't mean that. So Marsh won't get sacked unless we lose like 8-0 or something like that. I want to be very clear. So there were some people in the comments saying, "Oh, we should have sacked him before the World Cup." His run of results, like before the World Cup, beating Liverpool at Anfield. We can go on and on about how the match actually looked. And then winning, regardless of how it looked against Bournemouth. Like, you're not going to sack a manager at Leeds United for those results. It's not going to happen. I also don't think, unless they got absolutely blown out at Ellen Road, A loss against West Ham, who everybody sort of seems to acknowledge are better than they look. Same thing with Leicester. It's not a sackable offense for me unless it's a blowout. That being said, if I'm to feel positive about the ability to put space between us and the bottom three, we have to beat West Ham. We have to. So in that sense, it is sort of a prorated must win for me. In order for us to start creating distance over teams that I think are woeful, and for us to not be in a scrap, because if the closest we are to those teams, if Tyler Adams goes down, we're done. We're done. If Tyler Adams gets an injury, what are we going to do for the rest of our season? If I know you don't like him, but if Rodrigo goes down, where are the goals going to come from?
Yeah.
Who do we have scoring 9 goals?
Yeah.
Somerville's our second leading scorer with 4.
Well, that's why you go out and get some signings. You get sustenance, you get depth, but is what it is. Even when you're looking at West Ham, they have, it's depth. You're looking at most of the sides in and around about the bottom. They do have depth. Every single side appears to have more depth in the key positions than Leeds United, but it is what it is. They seem to want to do this on a shoestring, don't they? So let's hope that this is the start of some real business coming in, Gabe, because, we shouldn't be having these conversations of Tyler Adams being done and then Leeds are screwed, because in actual fact, you are right. And the exact same with Rodrigo. This shouldn't be a conversation at a Premier League club, but it is what it is, mate. Right, okay. So it looks like we've all gone with absolutely no losses. Everyone in the comment section below seems to believe that Leeds are going to either draw or loss, or draw or win, I should say. Not draw or loss, that didn't make sense. Draw or win. But Gabe, we're going to leave it there. I believe there is some football starting. We've been going on for an hour. And I think people are going to want to go off and watch that. So thank you so much. As I said, Leeds are playing tomorrow evening. Make sure you check it out, and we'll be here with the review and all that sort of good stuff. We'll be back with the debrief very, very soon. Gabe, thanks for joining me, mate.
Anytime.
And we will see you in a bit, guys. Cheers.